Welcome to Cost Saver Conversations. I'm Angela, and I ask the practical questions so you can quickly understand what matters. Today, I'm joined by Assad.
Hi, Angela. We are unpacking avoiding hidden costs when buying a home, how to use the Home Running Cost Forecaster UK today, and tying it back to the wider cost saver ecosystem, including tools like Home Running Cost Forecaster, so you can turn insights into action quickly.
Just a heads up before we dive in, we are your synthetic hosts. We are great with numbers, but as AI, we can sometimes be confidently wrong. Think of us as the digital versions of your most knowledgeable, slightly caffeinated friends.
Exactly. Treat this chat as a smart estimate only, not as professional financial guidance. Always check important details with official sources or a qualified expert before making any big decisions.
Welcome back, everyone. Okay, so today we're getting into something that I think genuinely keeps people up at night, the real cost of buying a home. And I don't mean the asking price, I mean, like, everything else. Assad, this is a big one.
It's a huge one, probably the biggest financial decision most of us will ever make. And yet, it's kind of mad when you think about it. Most people go into it with like half the information they actually need.
Right, because everyone fixates on the asking price.
Yeah, that's the number that ends up in the family WhatsApp group, right? Oh, we're buying for $285,000, and everyone's like, "Congratulations, amazing." But that number tells you almost nothing about what it actually costs to live in that property, month after month, year after year. You've got council tax, energy bills, insurance, maintenance, service charges, and that can easily add $400 to $900 a month on top of your mortgage.
Wait, 400 to 900 a month on top of the mortgage?
On top of the mortgage, yeah.
Even the lower end of that is a lot.
It really is. And look, the Homeowners Alliance estimated the annual cost of running a UK home at around $18,000 in recent years, and that includes mortgage repayments. But strip out the mortgage and you're still looking at, for a typical three-bedroom home, somewhere between $5,000 and $11,000 a year, just in running costs, before you've touched the loan.
That's a massive range, though. Like, what makes the difference between 5 and 11,000?
So many things. The age of the property, the energy efficiency, the council tax band, whether it's leasehold. And this is what I sometimes call the affordability trap. You stretch to buy the house you want, the mortgage looks fine on paper, and then reality lands. The Victorian terrace just eats gas. The leasehold flat has a service charge that climbs every year. Your lovely countryside address turns out to be council tax band F. It's just one of those things, you know?
So how do you figure all this out before you're already committed?
Well, that's exactly why the Home Running Cost Forecaster exists. It basically flips your thinking from purchase price to total cost of ownership. You plug in the property details, and it gives you a realistic monthly and yearly running cost figure in about 10 minutes.
And you can do this before you make an offer?
You should do it before you make an offer. That's the whole point. It's a sanity check that should happen before the offer, not after the survey.
Okay, so give me an example. Like, how does this play out in practice?
Sure. So there's this great example. Sarah and James from Leeds. They were comparing two three-bedroom semis last spring, both priced at $285,000. On paper, identical.
Right.
But House A was a 1930s property, council tax band D, energy performance certificate rating of E. House B was a 2010 build, band C council tax, energy performance certificate of B. They ran both through a running cost exercise before making an offer. House A came out at $620 a month in running costs. House B, $390.
Oh, wow. What is that, like a significant monthly difference?
Yeah, and over a 10-year horizon, that's $27,600. They bought House B, used the savings to overpay their mortgage. Does that make sense why this matters so much?
Completely. That's actually wild. You'd never know that from the asking price alone.
No, you wouldn't. And that's the problem.
So let's break it down then. What are these hidden costs that catch people out? Like, where does it all go?
Okay, so council tax is a big one. I'd call it the silent budget killer. Two identical-looking houses on the same street can sit in different bands, and the difference between, say, Band C and Band F can easily be over $1,000 a year.
On the same street?
On the same street. And here's the thing. The bands were set based on 1991 valuations in England and Scotland and 2003 in Wales. So many properties are in completely the wrong band for what they're actually worth today.
Oh, I didn't realize the valuations were that old. So you could challenge it?
You can, yeah. There's a formal process, and plenty of households have successfully had theirs lowered. You can check the band of any property on the gov.uk website in about 30 seconds. It's worth doing before you even view a place, honestly.
Good to know. What else?
Energy bills. This is the one that varies most wildly between properties, and it's where energy performance certificate ratings genuinely matter. A home rated D or below will cost noticeably more to heat than one rated C or above. For a typical 3-bed semi, the gap between a Band C and a Band F home can be $700 to $1,200 a year on gas and electricity combined.
So those energy performance certificate ratings aren't just like a tick box thing you ignore?
No, not at all. I mean, the estimates on the certificate aren't gospel. They assume a fairly standard occupancy pattern. But as a comparison tool between properties, really useful. And actually, if you're thinking of buying to let, this matters even more because they're proposing minimum energy performance certificate C for new tenancies from 2028.
Right, okay. Something to factor in. What about insurance? Because I feel like people just sort of assume that's a small number.
So buildings insurance isn't optional if you've got a mortgage. Your lender requires it. Contents insurance is technically optional, but I mean, you'd be brave to go without it. Together, expect anywhere from 200 to 600 pounds a year for a standard home. But, and this is the bit people miss, if you're in a flood-prone area or the postcode is flagged for subsidence or higher crime, premiums can go up significantly.
I hadn't really thought about how much location affects that.
It's bigger than most people realize. Always get a quote on the specific property before you exchange contracts, not after.
And then there's maintenance, the dreaded maintenance.
The one no one wants to think about. So the rough rule of thumb is you should budget around 1% of the property's value every year for maintenance and repairs. On a $300,000 home, that's $3,000 a year.
$3,000 a year just sitting there waiting.
And some years you'll spend nothing. Other years, the boiler dies in February and you're writing a check for $3,500 without taking your coat off. Older properties, anything pre-1940, generally cost more. Period features are wonderful until you need a sash window restored or a chimney repointed.
Yeah. What about leasehold? Because I hear those have their own.
Oh, a whole different world. Service charges typically run from $1,000 to $3,000 a year for an ordinary block, and significantly more if you've got concierge, gyms, lifts, and they tend to rise faster than inflation, which is the bit that really...
That's the scary part.
Yeah, and ground rent used to be a sneaky one. It could double every 10 or 15 years in some leases. Now, the Leasehold Reform Act 2022 capped ground rent at a peppercorn for most new leases, which is great. But if you're buying an existing leasehold, you absolutely must check the terms. Ask for the last 3 years of service charge statements before you make an offer. Big one-off charges for things like roof repairs often appear on a 5 or 10-year cycle, and you want to know if one's coming.
That's a really good tip. Okay, so practically speaking, how do you actually use the forecaster? Like, what do you need to put in?
Right, so it's fairly straightforward. You want the property's full postcode, the type, number of bedrooms, approximate square footage. Then you look up the council tax band on gov.uk, takes 30 seconds. Check the Energy Performance Certificate on the Energy Performance Certificate Register, which is free. Find out the heating system, gas, electric, oil, heat pump. For leaseholds, get the service charge and ground rent in writing from the agent. And then honestly estimate your household occupancy because that affects energy and water use quite a bit.
Okay, that doesn't sound too painful.
It's not. The whole thing takes about 15 minutes per property. And the number to focus on is the monthly total excluding mortgage, because that's what you need to find every single month on top of your repayment. That's the number that actually determines whether you can comfortably live there.
And then you can compare properties side by side?
That's where it really earns its keep. Run it on your top 3 shortlisted properties. Add the monthly running cost to the monthly mortgage payment for each one. Multiply the difference by 12 to see the annual gap. Then multiply by however many years you expect to own the home. And when you see that 10-year cost difference between two seemingly similar houses, the decision often just clarifies itself. A cheaper house that costs £200 a month more to run is $24,000 more expensive over a decade.
That changes things. That really changes things.
Considerably.
What about stress testing? Because bills don't exactly stay still, do they?
No, as anyone who lived through the 2022 cost of living shock will remember. So a sensible approach is to run the forecaster, then mentally add 20% to the energy and council tax lines and ask yourself, is this property still affordable? If the answer is no, you're stretching too far. It's the same principle as what mortgage lenders do. They stress test your repayments against higher interest rates. You should be doing the same with your running costs.
Oh, that's actually reassuring. Like, it gives you a framework rather than just guessing.
Exactly.
What about mistakes? Like, what do you see people getting wrong with this stuff?
Oh, so many. The biggest one is anchoring entirely to the mortgage payment. People work out what they can afford for the mortgage and then just ignore everything else. Like, the mortgage is just one piece of the monthly puzzle.
Right.
The second one is trusting the seller's word on bills. Sellers tend to quote you their best month, not their worst. A retired couple who go away for 2 months in winter will have completely different heating bills than a family with 3 kids who are actually there full time. Use independent data where you can.
Fair enough. You can't just take their word for it.
And then, this is a big one, forgetting about first-year costs. Moving, immediate repairs the survey flagged, new appliances, furniture for rooms you didn't have before, redecoration, changing the locks. The first 12 months in a new home routinely cost £3,000 to £8,000 in setup expenses beyond the purchase itself.
Wait, really? Up to 8,000?
Easily. And that's not even counting the stuff people consistently underestimate. Water bills, $400 to $700 a year for a family home, broadband, TV license, streaming services, easily $80 to $120 a month combined. Garden maintenance for larger plots, boiler servicing, replacing white goods that came with the house and were already on their last legs. Chimney sweeping if you've got open fires, drain maintenance for older properties on private drainage. None of them are huge individually, but together they're easily $100 to $200 a month that never appears on any quick budget sheet.
That's kind of a lot when you add it all up.
It is. And there's one more thing I'd flag. Don't treat big financial decisions in isolation. If you're buying a home in the same year you're planning a wedding or having a child or changing jobs, the cumulative pressure can be brutal. That careful forecasting you do for a home, you should be applying to everything.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so let me try to pull this together. What's the sort of practical takeaway for someone listening right now?
All right, so here it is. Before you make an offer on any property, look up the council tax band, 30 seconds on gov.uk, check the energy performance certificate rating on the register, free, ask about service charges if it's leasehold, estimate water and broadband, add a maintenance reserve of about 1% of the property value, then run it all through the home running cost forecaster to get one realistic monthly figure. The whole thing takes less than an hour per shortlisted property.
And you said it could save...
Potentially the equivalent of a year's salary over a decade of ownership. That's not an exaggeration. The buyers who do this end up in homes they can comfortably afford to live in. The ones who don't end up in homes they can technically afford to own, but struggle to actually inhabit without financial stress. And the difference between those two outcomes? A few hours of research at the start.
I love that. A few hours of research now versus years of stress later. Assad, thank you. This has been incredibly useful.
Thanks, Angela. Happy to help.
Quick side note, this guide connects with other cost-saver blogs, especially Council Tax Bands Explained and How to Avoid Overpaying, MEES, Energy Performance Certificate C, and The Common Landlord Mistakes, and wedding cost calculator and common UK budget mistakes.
Exactly. And reading those together helps you connect the dots across your household budget, not just this one topic in isolation.
And if you want to apply this immediately, jump into tools like Home Running Cost Forecaster right after this episode.
Primary sources used here include Energy Performance of Buildings Register and Check Your Council Tax Band, so you can verify the data yourself and stay evidence-led.
That wraps this cost saver conversation with Angela and Assad. If this helped, share it with someone who could put these ideas to work this week.
Your next step is simple. Try Home Running Cost Forecaster, then read Council Tax Bands Explained and How to Avoid Overpaying, and use them together to take action today.